It's been a very busy few days astrologically. The Aquarius full moon and the kite pattern with Mars are still active this week, but the dominant theme, the dominant transit of the week is Jupiter conjunct Venus, or Venus conjunct Jupiter, I should say. I'm going to go ahead and label that here on this chart. There are other really interesting transits this week, too. We have Mercury stationing direct and a Saturn Uranus sextile. I'm going to talk about all of that in today's report. But I want to start here with Jupiter conjunct Uranus, or Venus conjunct Jupiter, excuse me. I mark our chart in the hopes that if you're studying astrology, following along with this is helpful to you, that it brings some clarity to the report. And if you're just interested in listening to the astrology and hearing about it on that side, that this video works for you as well. That's always my hope and always my intention with these visuals that I add to our meetings and also to the horoscopes that are on my channel. So first, I want to talk about Venus conjunct Jupiter in Cancer. This is such a beautiful aspect. These are our two benefic planets, and Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. Jupiter has the easiest time here. And I think it says something really nice about Jupiter, that Jupiter's exalted in Cancer. We learn a little bit more about the planets by thinking about where they're exalted and where they have a hard time, where they have an easy time. And there's just something so expansive about Jupiter. And there's something so warm and home and family and emotional about Cancer that I appreciate the way that Jupiter enjoys that energy. So for us this week, there are a few different things that might come up around this energy. And again, I'm going to talk about a few other things this week. So when we put it all together, it paints a clearer picture. But let's start with this dominant transit, and it's so positive as well. So there could just be sort of a lot of emotions with this. You can have sort of big expressions of emotions around a transit like this. People who normally aren't in touch with their emotions could find that they are this week, and they might communicate that in some way, shape, or form to those around them. So that's that big-hearted expression, people who uh, are sort of leaning that way anyway might go a little further with the love, and then people who usually struggle maybe to be in touch with their emotions, you could hear from them in ways that feel sort of bold or surprising in some way, or big, because those emotions are just sort of so abundant with a transit like this. It can be very, very sentimental and nostalgic, thinking back over old memories, people that you used to know, even just routines that you used to have, things that you used to do. There's a sentimentality to this. But one thing that I really like about the energy of this week, too, is that we are just coming, I can't point to it because the moon has already moved on, but we are just coming off of an Aquarius full moon that's active for 2 weeks. And there's something about the Aquarius energy that is so cool and calm and clear. So the combination of these energies, it's like we're able to really have all these big emotions and be nostalgic and be sentimental and think about home and family and all those kinds of things with sort of a cool, calm, clear head. It's not overwhelming or upsetting. It's not too heavy. It's not too heavy. I think there's something about Aquarius that adds a lightness to it that is sort of helpful. I like those. I like those energies together. And I do think that there's something about Venus coming into this house and sign, meeting up with Jupiter, that has really ignited the Jupiter in Cancer signature. So something to pay attention to and where that is in your chart and where you're getting that expansion. We could find that we're really craving love, safety, comfort, support, a lot of these, a more harmonious situation, ease. Sometimes a transit like this might not show up as the manifestation of that, but as the craving for it. And that's okay too, because that craving is leading us toward more of that in the future, right? So as Venus connects with Jupiter, you might find yourself craving safety, craving comfort, craving those secure relationships. And even if they're not really popping up right now, because of the cool, clear head of this Aquarius full moon and just all this abundant air in the sky from an air grand trine that's going on right now, we've sort of a detachment that allows that craving to kind of root in, and it will bear fruit in the future. Anything that we have going on starts with the desire. Anything that we bring about anyway sort of starts with the desire, the belief, the vision. And so if you find yourself craving certain things, allow for that without getting totally swooped away, carried away by the emotions. Um, and if it manifests as an abundance of love, an outpouring of love from people around you, an abundance of emotion, then that's good too. Both are good. And it might be both. We might get both. There can be a real creative boost with a transit like this. It is a bit lucky, and sometimes finances can be a little bit involved in that as well. There can be a financial boost sometimes with a transit like this because Venus rules creativity and finances, and Jupiter coming here with some luck, some expansion. It could be a good thing for some in that way. And especially if there's some sort of emotional tie-in with where it's coming from, with the work, with the project. Yeah, it's like it's rooted emotionally because of that Cancer signature. Big themes around home, family, mother. And when I say home, I also mean your physical home. Um, there's something about Cancer energy that loves being at home. It's a great week maybe to spend a little extra time at home in bed. Cancer likes being in bed. Um, Anything with water is wonderful when we have such abundant Cancer in the sky. Um, Getting together with people during this time could feel sort of extra meaningful. Gatherings that you have, be sort of an amazing time for a wedding or a reunion, or people to see each other who haven't for a long time. It's a really, really nice moment for something like that this week. We want to really hold very close to what matters most to us with this kind of energy in the sky. And that could in some ways feel like extra sensitive. It could feel very sort of tender and sensitive in that way. So it's good to know that there is some real sensitivity in the sky, because that's happening for others as well as for you potentially. So just good to be aware of that too. I really think that this is mitigating. The positivity of this transit is mitigating some of the more difficult transits that are happening in the sky. We do have Mars opposed Saturn right now, which I talked about in the report for the weekend. There's a tension to that. And when it's in opposition, let me go ahead and get this on the chart because I am going to talk about it for a minute. So let's label here. So let's use a different color. So we have Mars here in Libra, which is really a very diplomatic signature. And we have Mars opposing Saturn in Aries, and that is actually was exact over the weekend. And we cannot separate what's going on with Saturn right now from Neptune. Saturn and Neptune are currently conjunct It hasn't been exact yet, but they're together. Look at that, at 1 degree and retrograde in Aries. Um, and Mars is opposing this. But, okay, well, first let me say, when planets are opposing each other, this can really feel like a tension. It can feel like an opposition. And often it can be personified. It can be something that plays out with another person in your life, where one of you sort of playing the role of Mars and one of you's playing the role of Saturn. And there can be some tension there. But the way I was explaining it over the weekend was that in that weekend report is that I feel like both of these individuals, if it plays out personified, are sort of in a good mood. It's like they're in a fight and they're having a conflict, but they're sort of in a good mood because we have all of these very, very positive aspects happening here. We have Mars is in trine to Uranus in Gemini. Mars is also in trine to Pluto in Aquarius, and those two planets just happen to be trining each other. So we get this grand air trine. And then Saturn and Neptune are interacting with that as well. They're in a sextile to Pluto. So this is a kite pattern. This is what's known as a kite pattern. And Mars is the one setting off the kite pattern this time. And we're going to be seeing this for a little while. It kind of comes in and out of formation. But Mars setting it off, it does feel like a lot of activity, a lot of movement for this kite, for sort of launching us into this new era that we can all feel taking shape this summer. Saturn and Neptune retrograde, I think we're turning inward quite a lot this week with this new era. We're processing it. We're thinking about it. We're coming up with plans. We're making plans. And there's just so much positivity here that I think that even though there was this conflict between Mars and Saturn, it was sort of mitigated by all the easier transits going on with both of those planets and the fact that Jupiter and Venus were coming into conjunction. So now this week, Venus and Jupiter are in conjunction. This is pulling apart. That's why I'm calling this turning towards the positive, because now it's like the scales have sort of tipped. It's sort of shifted just enough that now there's so much happening. There's so much happening. Easy stuff, hard stuff, new stuff, old stuff. And there's enough now on the side of what's easy and positive and new and next, and the positive from the old as well coming with us, that it's easier to lean in that direction. But I do think that we want to consciously lean in that direction. This isn't the kind of thing that we want to just happen to us. I'd want to mention really quick. Well, so let me just finish that up by saying what I mean is we want to turn towards the positive too. It's not just that the astrology is turning towards the positive, it is, but we want to do that as well. There's so much happening right now. Making sure that you give your attention to places where you're peaceful, places where things are growing, will help you to attend to the places in life where things are difficult. So I think we all want to turn towards the positive within ourselves as well, in order to take care of and advance the parts of life that might be difficult. And it's a very complex picture right now. So there's a lot going on. Some stuff that's easy, some stuff that's hard. Okay, 2 more things I want to mention. The first is Mercury stationing direct here in Leo. And I love this because Mercury retrograde in Leo has been a process of helping us to clear up some challenges that we may have been working through over the winter, the early spring, late fall even, as Mars was retrograde through this house. I don't think that this Mercury retrograde, depending on how it's affecting your chart, of course, how it's showing up for you, but it wasn't as difficult as some. In some ways, we needed to slow down. and go back over some Leo ground because a lot had happened there over the course of that Mars retrograde. And so I think still with Mercury now direct, it's like some of this is really over. Wherever you have Leo in your chart, there have been some challenges there, and things are now really starting to move forward, feel a little bit lighter, feel a little bit easier. And just confusion may have been cleared up, challenges may have been cleared up, arguments settled. And I think that that's happening in general this week. It's a great time to sort of repair any difficulty that came up lately. Okay, the very last thing that I want to talk about, I'm running out of colors. Let's do a regular red. So there's so many different pieces to this kite pattern, but when one of them comes exact, we want to talk about it. And what's coming exact this week is Saturn sextile to Uranus. This is a very interesting transit. I feel that this week we're able to sort of break through. It's like breakthrough energy, but it's also tangible real world progress. So it's sort of like new big ideas could suddenly hit you, and then you know exactly what you need to do. You also have the actionable plan. Sort of new ways of learning or communicating or thinking that you've been working on lately are sort of grounding and rooting into reality, into practice. There's some clarity about next steps that could come in sort of all of a sudden. So there's the freedom to this aspect, but also attending to responsibilities. I think this is an amazing transit, amazing week for making some real world progress, having some new ideas, and knowing exactly how to implement them. So if you would like to see where this falls in your chart, where the Venus Jupiter falls in your chart, and some of this kite pattern, for example, it's all in my August horoscopes on my channel. If you enjoyed this video, you would probably enjoy those. And I'm also going to attach here 2 other videos that I did that are relevant for the astrology at this time about Jupiter in Cancer by itself, and also just about Neptune in Aries retrograde. So I hope you have a wonderful week. Thank you so much for watching.